Hello, and welcome to English 1. In this unit called Visitors, we will be studying vocabulary related to company structure, the way companies are organized and how they are divided into different departments. In the grammar section, we will be studying interrogative sentences, questions, and their structure and functions. And finally, in the linguistic functions category or section, we will be studying the vocabulary necessary and expressions that we commonly use when we welcome visitors to our company. Let's study. Starting with the vocabulary, we need to understand the concept of company or organizational structure. So that's the first thing we are going to explain. What do we mean when we say company or organizational structure? What is it about and why it is important? That's the second thing we will be studying. Why it's important for employees, managers, and all the members of a company to understand and be very clear about the structure of their company and what each part, section, area of the company does. And of course, we will be reviewing some of the vocabulary, the words and expressions that we use to refer to this aspect of corporate life. Yes. Starting with the concept of company structure, we can say that every type of company, big or small, from family businesses to big multinational companies, need to operate under the principle of an organizational structure, which is a formal or official division of the company as a whole into several subsections or areas or departments. Each of these areas, each of these subdivisions is in charge of different responsibilities. And when they work together, they make up for the bigger objectives and the bigger goals of the company. And this is with what we understand when we are talking about company structure. We are talking about different departments with different functions, with different responsibilities, and how they interconnect in order to achieve the goals of the company. So we can mention different types of departments. Clearly, every company from every sector or industry has a different structure. It depends on factors such as the size of the company, the number of employees it has, the types of operations they take into account or they do in their daily activities and tasks. But in general, there are some departments that we can mention like standard departments for most companies around the world. And here it's a great diagram where we illustrate some of these departments. Again, it's not cut in stone, which means that it's not true for every single company in the world, but many companies in the world have this type of organization or subdivision. So we have the human resource department, which is in charge of all the recruiting processes when the company needs to hire new employees. And also the human resource department is in charge of managing the staff. Yes, if they have a problem or doubts or questions about their salary or benefits or holidays, etc., they have to go to human resources. Marketing department or promotion clearly is in charge of promoting or advertising the products or services provided by the company so that the organization or the company has a presence in the advertising world. Could be in the traditional media like television or the newspaper, but also, and this is more so every day, social media. Social media is the terrain of marketing departments today in the present. Customer service support, when a company provides a service or when it sells products too, many times customers, after they receive the service or they get the product, they have problems or doubts about how it works and or what to do with it. And that's where this department comes into work, because their function is to answer all the questions or try to solve all the problems that customers have with the products and services. The sales department, as its name suggests, it's about selling the products, making business agreement so that the company can sell. Accounting and finance manages all the money and the economic resources of the company, distributing the different budgets and the different resources to the different departments of the company. Distribution or logistics, too, it's also called logistics, is in charge of the transportation, which is also called dispatching, or the delivery of the products that the company offers to the clients or customers. Research and development, this is especially for scientific or technical types of industries, is where new products and better products are developed. So you have to go through different phases like testing and trialing and serving. All this process of developing new and better products are in charge or are the responsibility of the research and development area. Administrative and management, it's we can group here all the managing team of the company, so managers, directors, supervisors, etc., go into this department. Sometimes it's more like a hierarchy more than a department, but sometimes it's grouped into one area. Production or manufacture is also very clear that it's the department in charge of producing the materials or the products that the company sells. So the manufacture, the mass production of these products is in charge or is part of the responsibilities of the production or manufacturing department. Operations is more to do with the logistical side of things. So if you need transportation for a provider, or if you need to get plane tickets because you have to go on a business trip, it's all in charge of operations. Yeah, operations is they supervise how the company operates and how the company does different tasks. Information and technology support, also known as IT, the IT department is in charge of maintaining and repairing, if necessary, the computer systems of the company. So if there are any problems with the networks or the devices or the machines of the company, we have to go to the IT support department. Purchasing is a synonym for buying. Some companies that sell products, they don't produce the product, so they have to buy them first to another provider and then they resell them. So when that's the case, I'm thinking about department stores such as Falabella, for example. Falabella needs to buy the products it sells to from a provider in, I don't know, China or Japan or whatever, the United States. So the purchasing department at Falabella, just to mention an example, yes, is in charge of buying those products at the best possible price for the company. And of course, many companies have the legal department, which is in charge, as its name suggests, of dealing with all the legal procedures and rules and regulations and laws of the country and the industry where the company operates. So why is this important? Why is it important to understand the organizational structure of a company? For the staff of the company, it's very clear that understanding very well how the company is organized helps them to develop a better sense of efficiency, a better sense of effectiveness, which means that everybody knows what the role is in the company. So you know exactly what your responsibilities are and you do them because you are clear with what you have to do and what it's not your responsibility, it's somebody else's responsibility. Sometimes when the organizational structure of a company is not clear, uh, people tend to think, I don't think this is my responsibility, I'm not going to do it. And then if everybody thinks the same way, there's a problem because the things are not getting done. Yeah. It also reduces redundant actions because another thing can happen is that get, person A does one activity and then person B does the same activity because they never talked about whose responsibility it was. So it's redundant, it's repetitive. So when you have a clear organizational structure, this is very unlikely to happen because everybody knows what they should do and what they shouldn't do. It promotes teamwork. If you know exactly who the rest of the members of your department are, you can talk to them, you can communicate more fluently, and well, you can work as a team. Yes, you have a project, you have objectives, you have goals, you have to achieve them. And in order to do that, you work as a team, as a group of people. Yes. It improves fluent communication within the members of one department, but also with other departments, because you know exactly if you have a problem with the computers of the company, you know exactly who to talk to. If you want to find out about your new products, then you have to contact someone in the purchasing department. Or if you want to contact someone about customer service, then you have to call the customer service manager. You know exactly who that is. So everything flows in a more natural way and the communication is more spontaneous and fluent. And it, of course, all this, if you put all these together, what you have is that it contributes to the success or failure of the company. Because when the organizational structure is not clear, then it's very likely, it's very probable that deadlines are not going to be met, objectives will not be achieved, and the company will be in trouble. So the better organized the company is, the clearer the organizational structure is for the staff of the company, the more chances the company has of succeeding. And these are finally, in this vocabulary section, these are some of the expressions that we use to talk about the different actions and the different describing the different ideas that are related to company structure. We could think that each of these actions or phrases refer to a different department of the company. So, for example, the department of finance, they control the spending of the company. They control how much money is spent or invested on different things. The I don't know the accounts department is in charge of invoicing the customers, which means that they have to tell them, okay, you want to buy this product, this is how much you have to pay for it. Send it the money, and then we'll send you the product. That's the accounts department. Yeah. The quality control or quality control service um, checks that the products are in good condition. Yes. The human resource department, they are in charge of recruiting new employees. Yes, they want to hire new people, new staff. The IT systems or the IT support department is in charge of maintaining the computer systems. The marketing, the sales department are in charge of generating money for the company. It's very clear, very straightforward. The purchasing department is in charge of buying products for the company. The manufacturing department or production department manufactures the products. The logistics department dispatches and delivers the products. And finally, the customer service department is in charge of resolving the problems that customers may have. And these are some of the expressions and phrases that we use to describe the structure of a company. Moving on to the grammar. In this unit, we have interrogative sentences, which is a very elegant term to talk about questions. Yes, interrogative sentences are questions. We are going, in our study for this unit, we are going to study, first of all, the types of sentences and their structure. Yeah, we're going to distinguish between open questions and closed questions. We are going to be reviewing some of the most important and common question words, and then we're going to talk about subject and object questions. So basically, when we talk about the classification of questions in English or interrogative sentences, we can distinguish between open questions and closed questions. Yes, and as their name indicates, open questions are questions where the number of possible answers is very big or almost infinite. Yes, if I ask you, what is your favorite color? There are many, many, many different valid answers because every person can have a different favorite color. It's not like I'm giving you A, B, or C. You have to choose from a big, big number of possible answers. Yes, so that would be an open type of question. On the other hand, sometimes we just want to confirm something. We have like an idea that something is in a certain way and we want to confirm that idea. We need the other person, or we need other people, a group of other people, to confirm that our idea is correct or incorrect. So we ask a closed question, and the most common name for closed questions is yes no questions, and this gives you a very clear idea of what they are. Yes no questions are questions which we can answer only with yes or no, basically. So before I asked you, what is your favorite color? You could answer whatever you want. But if I ask you, do you like the color pink? Do you like the color pink? That is not an open question because you have a limited number of answers. You either like the color pink, and that would be an affirmative answer, or you don't like the color pink, and then you give me a negative answer. So your options of answer are limited to maybe three if you say so so. You could say yes, no, more or less. But beyond those three options, you have no more answers, right? So that would be an example of a closed questions, yes? There are many different characteristics that we can mention about the structure of these two types of sentences or questions, but the most important ones are that open questions start with a question word, which we will study in the next slide very, very soon, in a few moments. Yes, question words are interrogative words, words that help us to ask questions like where, why, where, what, when, how, etc. We will review them in detail in a few moments. And we want more of a response. We want a general, a more detailed type of answer on the part of the other person. Yes. From the linguistic point of view, this type of question encourages the caller to open up to you because you're giving them the chance to tell me whatever is in your mind. Yes. What's the best type of car in the world? Well, you can give me a lot of detailed information about your favorite car maker. Yes, for to give you an example, just for that. Closed questions, on the other hand, they don't start with a question word. In fact, they don't have a question word. They start with a verb. And this verb is usually an auxiliary verb. So words like do or did, does, may, will, would, is, are, was, were, a verb. Always a verb. When you see a question or when you listen to a question that starts with a verb, you know 100% sure that that question is a yes no question. You have to answer with yes or no. Yes. When you want a short, specific answer, or it allows you to be in control of the conversation because you're saying, okay, I just need yes or no. And then I will ask you another question. It's like you have the control of the situation and you want to direct the conversation in a certain direction, in a certain way. We use yes no questions or closed questions. And here are just some examples. I've mentioned a couple of them. But well, how are you finding the house hunting process? Open. Tell me your experience trying to find a new apartment to live in. You can tell me a very long answer, giving me all the details about how many days you've been looking for an apartment, blah, 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 blah. Very long answer. But if I ask you, do you find the house buying process challenging? Do you think this is difficult or not? Yes or no. And then maybe you can give me more info, but in general, I'm just telling you, tell me yes or no. That's all I need. Yeah. All right. What about question words? I'm sure you noticed that for open questions, we normally start our questions with one of these interrogative words or question words. They are also known as WH words, very clearly because most of them, with one notable exception, start with the letters WH. So it's very common to hear the term WH words. So we have a large variety of question words in English, depending on the type of information that we require, the type of information that we need to find out with our open question. We are going to change the question word. So we have things like who, when we want to talk about a person or ask about a person. Who is that man? So I'm referring to a person. I use who. We have where, when we want to ask about or find out about a place. Where do you live? And the answer needs to be a place. Why, when we want to understand the reason for something. Why are you here? Because I want to talk to you, because I need you. I'm giving you the reason for something. When we want to refer to time in general, okay, not very specifically, but in general. So when do you study? I study at night. I'm not giving you a specific time or a specific hour. I'm talking about general time. What is very it has many meanings, but in general, it's when we want to talk about objects or things or ideas or activities or actions. Yes. What do you eat for breakfast? I'm talking about food. Food is considered an object, so you go, or a thing. So you go with what? With the word what. Yeah. What time is also for time, obviously, but more specifically than when, because what time, I want you to tell me a time of the day. I want you to tell me the hour and the minutes at which you do something. What time do you finish work? So you can say at 6 o'clock instead of saying in the afternoon. That's very general. I want something more specific, so I ask with what time. How is to talk about manner or method or means. How are you? In what manner do you feel? Yes. How do you feel? How are you? I'm fine. Or how do you travel to work? I'm asking you about the means of transportation. So how do you travel to work? I travel to work by bus. Yes. I'm giving you the means of transportation. And then the word how, when it can be combined with other words to make phrases, interrogative phrases, and changing, of course, the meaning or the specific information that you are asking about. So, how often is to ask, for example, there are just two here, but there are more. How often is to ask about frequency? So, how frequently you do something? How often do you go to the gym every day? That I'm asking you to tell me the frequency at which you do this certain activity. And how old is when you want to know the age or antiquity of something. Yes. How old is your sister? How old is this building? You want to know the age, the antiquity of something or someone. Yes. But then you also have things like how long, when you want to talk about duration. How long was the movie? It was 2 hours long. And then you're also using how with the word long to talk about duration. Or you can ask how much, how many, quantity, amount, price. How much is that bar of chocolate? Yes, how much? You're asking about the price or the amount of something. You can ask how much or how many. So these are just some of the question words that we normally use in English, specifically in open questions, when we want to know specific information. And finally, we have another important distinction, which is the difference between subject and object questions, because with open questions, too, open questions are the complex ones. With open questions, you can have the words who or what acting as the object of the sentence or acting as the subject of the sentence. So it's very important to understand the difference, because the way we organize or assemble the question changes depending on this distinction. So when we have an object question, it means that the question word, who in this case, is not the doer of the action. Yeah, the doer of the action is somebody else. We have another word, usually a noun or a pronoun, which is the subject. Yes. So who does John love? The verb in this question is the verb love, and the doer of that action is John. And I want to know the receiver of this action. I want to know the receiver of John's love. And the receiver of John's love, I don't know. That's why I ask, who does John love? And the answer to that is the receiver, the object of the sentence or the verb. John loves Mary. So Mary is the answer to who in this case, and Mary is the object of the sentence. The characteristics of an object question is that they always require an auxiliary verb. In this case, the auxiliary verb is does, because it's the present tense, and the subject is she or he, right? And the word order is the word order of a question. Yes, a question word, then the auxiliary, then the subject, and then the verb with the question mark. On the other hand, with subject questions, the question word, in this case, again, the word who, is the subject of the question, because that's exactly the piece of information that we don't know. We don't know who the doer of the action is. Again, we have the same verb. We have the verb love here, but this time John is not the doer of the verb of the action. He's the receiver. We know that somebody loves John. John receives love, but we don't know the sender of the love. We don't know the doer of that action. So we ask, who loves John? And in that case, Sally is the answer to the question. And Sally, as you can see here with the colors and everything, Sally is the subject of that sentence. It's not the object, it's the subject. So we can say that this is a subject question. And look at this, the characteristics are a little different because they don't have an auxiliary verb. We only have the question word and then the verb directly, and then the rest of the sentence, the object, the complement, the place, the time, etc. But we don't have an auxiliary verb, and we have more or less the structure of an affirmative sentence. It's a question, but with the order of an affirmative sentence. So be careful with this because the way you organize the questions is different. Finally, we go to the linguistic functions section of the unit. We are talking about how we should act when we are welcoming visitors and business travelers to our company, our city, our country. We're going to study some importance indicators and the general guidelines for this situation. And also, as usual, we are going to talk about some useful expressions. So, the importance of visiting a company, the importance of traveling for business, the importance of moving from your company, from your comfort zone to another place where you will be welcomed by other people. We live in an era where Zoom and Google Meet and all these platforms have started to substitute a lot of the face to face interaction that we used to have in business, in classes, in life. Yes. But even though we have this situation and we live this reality, we cannot forget about the importance of face to face, direct interaction. Yeah, so business trips, even though they are more restricted than ever because we have all the COVID-19 protocols and all that, we have all these, new rules and everything, they are still important. And the same applies to business visits. If you don't go out of the city, but just go from one company to another, there are many reasons. This slide is very, very detailed, but I just want to mention a couple of reasons why experts still believe that business trips are important and business travel is still important. Well, they feel that we have some data here, some statistics. So the people who travel for business, most of them think that they are good for it has more positive things than negative things. Yes. So 92% of them feel that they are more comfortable when they travel, that they have positive things. Yes. And at home too, 82% also feel that it's good for their home life, for their personal life. Yes. One third of the people who they interviewed in this survey say that the destination is the most exciting thing about the business travel. And they also mentioned the top three benefits of traveling for business. And this is what I want to focus on. Yes. It helps to develop trust. It doesn't really matter how much digital we are turning, how much of virtual meetings we have now. It will never substitute the feelings and the situation of meeting someone in person. If we're doing a business agreement, you want to see the other person's reactions to whatever you are negotiating. This is very difficult to replace with a Zoom call or with a teleconference. So 39% of the people interviewed here, they said that it's very important to develop trust between clients, between rival companies, between competitors, between providers, suppliers, customers. It's always better to see the other person or the other part of the negotiation. Yes, you get to know people better. That's another very important reason. It's not the same to understand or have an interaction with a person for 1 year via email. Yes, you say hello, you talk, yes, but it's not the same as saying hello in person. How are you? Oh, that's you develop a different type of personal relationship. Yes. And it also actually impacts positively on efficiency levels and productivity levels because when you are on a business trip, you have to manage your time very wisely because you have a little, you have even less free time because you're always in a conference or in a talk or a speech. You are negotiating, you are meeting other people from other companies. So You have to make a bigger effort to maximize your time. And this gives like extra motivation to have everything done organized in an organized way and meeting deadlines. So it actually impacts positively on productivity. So this is kind of surprising, but it's true. Yeah, so these are just some of the importance factors or the criteria to say, to argue that business trips and visits are still very important, even in the post COVID 19 world. And finally, these are some of the expressions that we can use when we welcome or when we are the visitors at a different company. When you are a visitor, you can say things like, I have an appointment with, and then you mention the name or the position of the person you are visiting. The host, the person who receives or welcomes the guests, can say, please take a seat. He or she, the person, will be right there, like, yes, please wait here. Thank you for coming, or thank you for inviting me. Always be polite and show that you are thankful for the visit. Did you have a good trip? Yes, you want to start some small talk to ask about how they went in the trip. It's a good idea or a good option. The meeting room is this way if you want to orient them into the different areas of the company where they need to go to have the meeting. Can I get you anything? Again, you're trying to be polite. You're trying to make the other person feel welcome. So you offer them, I don't know, like somewhere to hang their coat, or if they need some material or something, you are offering that help. And also you can say help yourself too if you are welcoming them with some snacks like tea, coffee, biscuits, cookies, whatever, or materials that they need for the meeting that they are going to have. You can use this expression of help yourself. Here it is. It's available for you. Yes. So these are some of the useful expressions for this communicative situation. In conclusion, today in the business world, it's essential for company staff to understand the organizational structure of their company, as well as to have a clear idea about the functions each department fulfills. Very clear idea of the organizational structure means or results in better work. Yes, they will understand better their own role, responsibilities, and how they contribute to the company. In grammar, we know that now that we can use different types of questions to ask about and find out different types of informations. We have closed questions, yes, no questions, that are used for confirming the information, while open questions are used to find out key facts or specific details. And finally, that we can use different expressions and idiomatic phrases to welcome visitors to our companies, making sure that we make them feel comfortable and that we give them a positive experience while they are at the company, at the building, right? The same applies when we are the guests or the visitors. Before we leave you, let's remind you of the final recommendations. Remember that for any questions, doubts that you have, your tutor or a professor will always be available at the course forum. So make sure you leave all your doubts there. It will be answered, they will be checked. Remember, it's very important that you participate in the synchronous sessions, in the synchronous classes, because they are the best chance to clear all your doubts in real time. And don't forget that, you know, collaboration is the key to all this learning process. So make sure you participate in the debate forum, because that's the best way to exchange information with your classmates and also with your tutor or professor. This has been everything for this unit. Until the next unit of English 1, let me tell you, take care and bye bye.